Welcome to the Savvy Shopkeeper Retail Podcast. I'm your host, Kathy Cruz. I'm a former brick and mortar store owner turned retail expert who is passionate about entrepreneurship and has experienced the highs and lows of running a retail business. Whether you're a seasoned retail veteran or an aspiring store owner, consider me your guide on this store owning journey. If you're looking to run a profitable and growing business that doesn't drain you, follow my 6 stages of shopkeeping and subscribe to this show. Join me for a journey of continuous learning where protecting your mind, maximizing profit, and determining your own schedule are a priority. Get ready to work smarter, profit more, and grow your retail business. Welcome to episode 223 of the Savvy Shopkeeper Retail Podcast. 5 tips for becoming a better leader. I'm your host, Kathy Cruz. So I recently realized I personally haven't recorded any episodes on the topic of leadership. At least I don't think I have. And in episode 216, we'll link it in the show notes, Shelly Warren of Stacking Your Team was a guest on the podcast, and she shared some tips on how to motivate your team without throwing extra money at them. It's a really great episode, and if you're stepping into leadership or looking to improve your leadership skills, go listen to that episode too. But in today's episode, I want to cover some of the basic skills we can build upon and practice in order to grow into this leadership role. In Master Shopkeepers, I'll be hosting a leadership series, and it crosses over July and August. It's 3 lessons I'll be teaching. It's pretty much a month of teachings on the topic of being a better leader. I'm doing this because the number of store owners in stages 4, 5, and 6, they're growing in Master Shopkeepers, and for some, leading is a new skill that has to be learned. Leading isn't a natural skill for many store owners, and that's okay. It is something that we can work on. If you haven't taken the Savvy Shopkeeper quiz, you'll learn what stage of shopkeeping you're in, and if you listen to this podcast regularly, or if you're in Master Shopkeepers, knowing your stage is really incredibly helpful, especially if you plan on listening to this podcast more, or if you participate in Master Shopkeepers, because a lot of what I do is around the 6 stages. If you're a store owner in stages 4, 5, or 6, you're definitely leading. In fact, a store owner in stage 5, for example, generally has, and this is generally, it's not always a one-size-fits-all, but they generally have 10, 12 plus employees, sometimes as many as 30 or 40 team members. And definitely when they have that many team members, they have 1 or more store managers. That's a lot of leading, right? And if you grow quickly and suddenly find yourself with a big team, or more people than you planned on leading, you may find yourself struggling to lead them, or even worse, with high staff turnover, and this can be frustrating. So just like episode 221, when I talked about vendor relationships, you might eventually get to the point of friendship with some of these team members, but it's important to understand that this is a business relationship. However, it doesn't mean you have to be an ogre, right? Like, you don't have to be that mean boss. You can be friendly and professional and respected while leading. Just like so many other things in entrepreneurship, being a good leader is a muscle we can build. So in today's episode, let's talk about some of the layers in the leadership muscle that we can work on. And trust me when I say, I've had to work on this too. Even when I spent 20 years in law enforcement, I didn't move up into a supervisory role. So becoming a boss and becoming a leader of a team also required some skills and some learning for me. So I want to make sure that I stress that, because I don't want to come across like I'm the perfect leader and I've always been the best leader. These are skills that I had to learn too. Number 1, be inquisitive. Ask what's helpful to them. As a store owner, it's essential to maintain a curious, mindset. And that can be really hard, right? Because we're often so focused on all the things that we have to do. So, this means regularly engaging with your employees and asking them what tools or resources or support they need to perform their jobs better. It may not always be a yes, right? We have to be prepared to say, okay, we appreciate that feedback. Maybe it doesn't work, but I think it is important to ask. It's about showing genuine interest in their work and in their personal development. When you ask, what can I do to help you succeed? You're opening a dialogue that fosters trust and collaboration. It will make your team feel valued and heard, which can really significantly boost morale and oftentimes productivity. So, here are some example questions to ask. What challenges are you facing with your current tasks? Is there any additional training or resources that would help you? How can we improve our processes to make your work easier? This episode is brought to you by Master Shopkeepers, my mastermind group for brick and mortar retail store owners. If you're craving support, connection, inspiration, and motivation for your retail business, apply to join us. It doesn't matter what stage of shopkeeping you're in, what matters is your drive to work less, profit more, and grow, both personally and professionally. Learn more at savvyshopkeeper.com/group membership. That's savvyshopkeeper.com/group membership, all one word. So I remember when a Master Shopkeepers member asked her staff, what's the one thing you wish I would have trained you better on when you started working? I loved that question. This answer was her guiding light when she started focusing on building an operations manual, which I think is an incredibly important tool, especially when you're leading a team. But I really loved that she asked that question, right? She wasn't so stuck in, I'm doing everything right and you're doing everything wrong, or I'm the only one that knows how to do everything. You have to listen to me, right? It was just a more curious approach. Number two, act as a guide. I mean, you're essentially teaching them, you're coaching them. Leadership isn't just about giving orders, it's about guiding and mentoring your team. Take the time to teach them new skills. Share your knowledge. There's so much in our brains, especially when you're a solo shopkeeper. And if you've been a solo shopkeeper for years and now you're bringing a team on, you have to kind of unpack all of those things in your brain. One example I can share is like when you work with customers, when you're dealing with customers in the store, there's so many natural things that come out of you in conversation that make the customer feel more comfortable in your store, that make the customer feel like you are providing them with value. It's helpful if you unpack those things and share them with your team members so that they can do the same thing and provide the same type of service. When you act as a coach, you empower your employees to grow and take on more responsibilities. This not only improves their performance, but it also builds a stronger, more capable team. So, here are some examples of ways to coach your team. You can conduct regular training sessions on new products or technologies. And before you get mad at me and say, Kathy, who has time for that? Maybe it's once a quarter. Like, I'm not saying you have to do this every week at a weekly meeting. I'm not even saying you have to do this every month, but could you incorporate some type of fun, hourly, or even educational? Maybe it isn't fun. It doesn't have to be fun. Educational training for them once a quarter. Could you allow for that in your calendar? That brings them in. That lets you share that knowledge that you have in your brain with them. The other one is offer one-on-one mentoring to address specific skills or career development. You're going to find that some team members need this. It's not that they don't want to be good team members. It's just that maybe they don't know how to be good team members. So be a mentor to them. And number three is provide opportunities for employees to take on new roles or responsibilities under your guidance. This is definitely important as you want your business to grow. For the people who are just stepping into stage 4 and definitely heading towards stage 5, you have to release a lot of the responsibilities that you're used to carrying. So you want to groom your team members and prepare them to take on more responsibility. So we have a husband and wife duo and master shopkeepers who do this incredibly well. In particular, the husband. We often joke about how he loves to people, like if peopling was a verb. He loves learning about people, talking to people. He loves identifying what and why they need to work on something. He loves to chat and engage. He is a people person. So for him, this is a natural skill, but we're not all built like this, right? For some of us, we're just focused on ourselves sometimes, especially in business and as a solo shopkeeper, and then getting out of that habit can be challenging. Or for the introverts, I see you, I am an introvert, most of you know that. And we just want to kind of keep to ourselves and be by ourselves. So you kind of have to learn how to be a little bit more of a people person. Number 3 is practice humility. Admit when you're wrong or when you can be better. I mean, essentially, sometimes you have to concede, and humility is a critical trait in effective leadership. Acknowledging your mistakes or areas where you can improve, it shows your team that you're human and approachable. This honesty, I have to say, like it fosters a culture of transparency and mutual respect. I hope I kind of do that on this podcast sometimes, where even at the beginning of this episode, I told you I haven't always been the best leader, or I didn't, immediately become number one leader. It's something I work on all the time. And I hope that makes me approachable. So when employees see that you're willing to admit your faults and work on them, they're most likely to do the same thing, leading to a more honest and productive work environment. You see a recurring theme here, right? Like I keep saying that some of these skills and practicing these skills will help productivity in your business. This episode is brought to you by my new free resource, a ChatGPT guide for retailers. There is no other tool that has saved me as much time in 2024 as ChatGPT has. My new guide will help you learn about this free artificial intelligence tool. Yes, it's free, and it's not as intimidating as it sounds. I share 14 ways retailers are using the tool now to save them time and effort. I also share real store owner examples, and the results from one search will blow your mind. Visit savvyshopkeeper.com/chatgpt to sign up for this free guide. So here are examples of how to demonstrate humility. So sometimes just publicly acknowledging your mistakes and sharing what you learned from them. Number 2 is seek feedback from your team on your leadership style and areas for improvement. Now, some of you are probably thinking, no way, Kathy, I'm not doing that. But I think in the right setting and on occasion, I think this could work. And then number 3, show appreciation for employees who bring new ideas or solutions to the table. This one for me is incredibly important because I don't always want to carry the weight of forward momentum in my business. And yes, it's my business, but I have a team. So when my team members come to me and say, "Hey, Kathy, what about this?" or I have this idea, I love it. And I really appreciate it. And I want them to do that more. If you're always right and your team is always wrong, this is going to become a problem. Just because we're leaders doesn't mean we're always right and that we do everything right. As a leader myself, I have a team of 7 now. I think it's 7, maybe even 8. They're all remote subcontractors. And because they're independent workers, that doesn't mean I'm not leading them. I am. My team members often tell me how much they appreciate my systems. And that's probably no surprise for some of you that have listened to this podcast for a while, because I love systems and processes. And yes, I have things systemized, but when something isn't working or I'm dropping the ball, I have to accept responsibility. And in these situations, it's easy for leaders to blame their team for inefficiencies. But if you pause and you step back to see the big picture, are you seeing that the problem actually starts with you? And yes, at times this is the case with me as a leader. And at times you're going to see, no, it's not me. I've done the things that I've needed to do. And then that's a coaching moment for them. The next 2 tips I'm going to share with you, number 4 and number 5, are where I often find shopkeepers who are becoming leaders struggle the most. Being a people pleaser or lacking systems is what keeps store owners from building this part of the leadership muscle, but you can work on this. So, number 4 is create accountability. You want to give them clarity. You want to communicate with them so that they have clarity. And accountability is crucial for a well functioning team. You want to ensure that the team member knows their responsibilities and the expectations you have for them. Clear communication about goals, deadlines, and even performance standards helps prevent misunderstandings and it ensures that everyone's on the same page. That means you want to document what all of this is for each role and each person that's participating in your business. So, regular check ins and performance reviews can help maintain this clarity and keep everyone accountable. I know for sure there are so many of you that listen to this podcast who don't have this in place. So, this might be helpful to you. Again, I want to stress that implementing all of this at once might feel overwhelming, or building the layers of this muscle might feel like a lot, but maybe work on one thing at a time. So here are some strategies for creating accountability with your team members. Number 1 is set clear, measurable goals for each team member. If it's a sales associate, maybe it's sales goals. If it's somebody who works on social media, maybe it's creating a tracker in a Google Sheet to monitor engagement and insights and analytics in your social media. Are things improving? Are they not improving? What's performing well? Something to track what it is that they're doing. Oftentimes we'll tell ourselves, well, that it's a role that I can't track performance. That's not necessarily true. And for those of you in Master Shopkeepers, for the leadership series, I'm going to share a template with you for performance review. So that'll be a helpful tool. So you don't have to create it from scratch. And then number 3 is use project management tools to track tasks and deadlines. I know I've mentioned Trello quite a few times on this podcast, and that's what I use for my own team. It could easily be used for retail teams too, not just online service-based businesses like Savvy Shopkeeper. For some of you, you'll feel like you're micromanaging, especially when you start building this part of the muscle. It may feel annoying and not necessary, but it is. If you haven't given your team members expectations or you haven't created systems for accountability, you may find yourself in a position where undermanagement leads to micromanagement. It's okay. Really, I'm telling you, it's okay to micromanage in a way, not crazy micromanage, but in a way, what feels to you like micromanaging is just managing. I want you to get control of your business, get control of your team. It doesn't mean you have to be controlling. It just means that you need to manage it. The better you get at this, the less it will feel like micromanaging. And then number 5 is be true to your word. And that means consequences. Integrity in leadership means keeping your promises and being consistent in your actions. When you commit to something, follow through. This builds trust and reliability with your team members. Additionally, it's important to establish and enforce consequences fairly. This makes us really uncomfortable, and I get it. So if we go back to number 4 and you set expectations for each role and they aren't met, you want to address these directly and constructively, right? I don't want you yelling at your employees, angry, your face is red, you're extremely frustrated. In that instance, for sure, if there's a situation like that, step back, pause, maybe take a couple hours, maybe even a day to revisit and have the conversation. But constructive is important. Consistent follow through on both rewards and consequences, it just reinforces a culture of accountability and respect. So here are some ways to maintain integrity. Follow through on commitments to your team, whether it's a promise for a new resource or a scheduled meeting. Number 2, address issues of non-performance or misconduct promptly and fairly. And number 3, reward and recognize employees who meet or exceed expectations. You want to reinforce that positive behavior. It's helpful to you. I try to do this as much as possible with my own team. Last year, I was really grateful to have the year that I did. Personally, it was very hard and challenging. So, professionally, for me to get through the year, I was grateful that my team supported me and I gave them all Christmas bonuses. Now, was it thousands of dollars in a bonus? No, but it was a bonus that I could provide them, and it felt good to me to say thank you for 2023. So, the best example I have of this is when store owners have a toxic team. I should say, the best example I have of a case where there's consequences is store owners who have a toxic team member. And if the owner hasn't worked on accountability, or they have a hard time having conversations that make them uncomfortable, or they struggle with being true to their word, the toxicity of that team member, it leaks into every part of their team and probably many parts of their business. Once they identify this and they start building their leadership muscle, they get the courage to remove the toxic team member, and eventually everyone feels relief. That's what you want for your team. For you, you want peace of mind. So, number 5 is incredibly important because we don't want that toxicity in our business. All right, it's time to wrap this up. Even if this feels hard, building the leadership muscle, you can become a more effective and respected leader. These 5 practices, they will not only enhance your leadership skills, but they'll contribute to a positive, productive, there I go again with that productive word, and cohesive work environment. Your team members want to feel that it's the same playing field in that sense all across the board. Your team will appreciate the support, the guidance, and the clarity you provide, ultimately leading to a better performance and job satisfaction because you want them to be happy too. You want to be happy and they want to be happy. If you're a member of Master Shopkeepers, again, we'll be digging into this topic much more in July, so get ready, even if you're in stage 3 or earlier, especially if you know you want to grow, you'll need the support of a team. So if you're currently a solo shopkeeper, but you know you want to grow, you're going to want to participate in the leadership series. If you aren't in Master Shopkeepers and you want to join in on this and so many other lessons and helpful conversations that we have all year long in the group, apply to join us at savvyshopkeeper.com/group membership. If you found this podcast episode helpful, please share it with a retail business friend. Or if you have a friend who is just starting on this leadership journey and can use some helpful tips, please share this episode with them. I do appreciate it. If you want to see the show notes to this episode or find links to anything I mentioned, you can visit my blog at savvyshopkeeper.com/episode 223. That's savvyshopkeeper.com/episode 223. Until the next episode, be savvy and boss up.